Welcome to FitFarm, a show dedicated to creating a better life through fitness and the grappling arts. I'm Joseph Aronson.
I'm Jackie Baker. It's time to get jacked.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Joey. I have someone special from actually Daytona Beach, Florida, Jared Levine. How you doing, Jared?
Pretty good, man. How's it going?
Awesome. I'm excited we got this in, dude. I know we were kind of going back and forth on figuring out the timing, so we cut it, like you said, off the air really close to to when you're going back, or your vacation was over, so perfect.
It's all good.
Yeah, I was hoping we could fill everybody in just a little bit about your background, where you came from, and kind of what brought you to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's highly complicated, but as is life, you know. But I am a emergency room nurse who is in school to become a nurse practitioner. I'm also lifelong martial artist. I've been doing Jiu Jitsu for a decade now. Originally grew up in Fort Lauderdale, moved around, and found my way up to Daytona Beach, and that's where I live now.
Nice. Now, were you, as a child, you were still in Florida, right? I mean, originally,
always
Florida. Okay.
Yeah, always in Florida.
As far as athletics or sports, did you play anything as a kid, or?
Yeah, so I played sports my whole life. I played soccer from the time I was 5 to I want to say 17, but it really started going downhill around 16 and started smoking.
Right.
And, partying. And it's kind of hard to run around the field when just fucking smoking all the time. So,
went to
in the off season, I played hockey and baseball and basketball, but soccer was the only thing that really ever took.
Okay, so you were, up and down the field. That's like a super intense sport, So, like you said, if you start smoking or something,
dude, it got to a point where I would be smoking at and break, and then go and try to run back on the field. And
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, you start to tank. Yeah, sure. That's funny because that's kind of the first sport I ever played as a kid too. I think parents, do they just make all their kids play soccer at a young age, and then sometimes it catches?
Yeah, I mean, less in America, obviously, but it's definitely a popular sport, and it's a good team sport,
Yeah, it does teach you a lot about working together with people. So now, fast forward to when you were smoking and making, obviously not the greatest decisions back then, it sounds like. Did you continue and finish the schooling then, or did you have any issues with that still, or?
Well, I was a wild kid, man. I got kicked out of school in my sophomore year in high school.
Yeah. Got
kicked out of 2 high schools, actually. And eventually realized that school wasn't for me. And, I was a DJ back then, so I was partying all the time and doing drugs. And, where I'm from, there's a lot of gangs, and got involved with all that kind of shit. And, eventually just was for a long time. And it wasn't till I was in my 20s that I kind of realized the importance of school.
Yeah.
So to take it a step back, I went and got my GED. When I dropped out of school, I realized the importance of that, and went to a program to become a pharmacy technician.
Yeah. So one of those 6 weeks, or what are they? How long are they?
It was actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of Job Corps.
No. Is it a temp service or something, or?
So Job Corps is a government program that's really for lower socioeconomic people, or kids that were mandated by the court to go there instead of going to jail.
Oh, okay.
I went to the one in Jacksonville, and I was 1 out of 5 white guys there, and It was just a rough place. It was in the north side of Jacksonville, and at that time had the highest murder rate per capita in the United States.
Jeez.
So not a fucking good place to be. But it allowed me to become a pharmacy technician, and then from there kind of go on to a path that was better than the path that I was leading. So
wow,
it served its purpose.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, you stepped away from school for a bit. Was there something that happened like that made you say, hey, I got to get back, at least get the GED, or is there a moment?
Well,
or just...
Yeah, I mean, so the GED I got when I dropped out of school. My mom was kind of like, look, maybe school's just not for you. Right. You got to at least get the GED, though.
You at least got to get this certificate here, right? This piece of paper.
Yeah, you got to at least do that. So I was like, all right. And in terms of Job Corps, that decision came years later. I mean, I was just a wild kid, man, and was not in a good spot. Just drugs and kind of homeless and living at motels in my car and all that kind of shit. So I made a choice to kind of better my life because I was kind of, wasn't too much lower I was going to go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and then from there started working as a pharmacy tech. And then it actually wasn't until a couple of years later that I finally started to go back to school. I was working as like a pharmaceutical courier, where I was like contracted with pharmacies, and I would drive up and down the state of Florida to Miami, to Cocoa, to Jacksonville. And when you're doing that, man, you're in the car all by yourself. You got a lot of time to think about life. And
yeah.
So I realized that, I was kind of at the ceiling of what I was going to make as a pharmacy tech, and I wanted more out of life, man. So the next logical step was to become a pharmacist. And so I started going back to school to become a pharmacist, and I was taking anatomy and physiology and realized that I did not want to be a pharmacist, that I wanted to go into medicine.
Yeah.
So at that point, I knew that I didn't want to live my life behind a desk, that I wanted to work with people. And so the next logical step was to go to med school. And at the time I was like 25, and I didn't like the thought of coming out of med school at 35 and starting to live my life then, after like all my life's been gone.
Yeah, I mean, all the fun years are behind you. Now you're just starting over at 35, right?
It's like, here all these great years are gone because you spent them in school. Now you're going to start living your life. So I evaluated some other options, and those were like a mid-level practitioner, like a PA or a nurse practitioner. And at that time, I was trying to be practical, and I knew a PA you couldn't work while you were going to school. So you would have to take out additional loans to live. Mm-hmm. So I decided on the nurse practitioner. I figured I'd go get my degree in nursing, get some experience in critical care, work in the ER, and then nurse practitioner schools have this cool option where you can do part-time and then also work full-time.
Yeah, keep the bills paid and everything, right? I mean, keep the debt to a minimum too, right?
Yeah, and that was the plan. So it was practical, and as an NP, you have a lot more autonomy. You can practice independently depending on the state. Mm-hmm. I mean, like Alaska has full prescribing authority. I could operate my own practice independently, just depending on the state's laws and guidelines.
Wow.
So here I am, man.
So now you're a nurse practitioner now?
I'm in school to become a nurse.
Okay. So are you an RN now, or what are you doing right now?
Yeah, I'm an RN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're still chugging along with the school, man. I mean, and that's good. It should be never ending, the learning, right? I mean, just like a martial artist, never ending.
Yeah, man. And I'll eventually probably get my DMP, which is like a doctorate, just because. Yeah. But I kind of pushed it back a little bit. I was supposed to start last year, but I wanted to travel, and it wasn't really ready to just go back into the thick of things 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
school, work. It's a grind, man.
Yeah, and it is a grind too. I mean, it's like you said, there is no vacation. Once you're committed, boom, you're committed for until it's over, right?
Yeah, and it could be a little rough, man. So, I had to be ready.
Yeah,
But I'm ready.
ready. So now, when did you find martial arts, and was jiu-jitsu the first martial art you ever found?
No, man, I started. So when I was younger, I was in like elementary school and shit, and how your parents put you in karate and all that.
Yeah.
I took karate, and I don't remember it, but apparently I started karate chopping kids in my class and got kicked out of the school.
Great.
In elementary school, and
Classic.
yeah, so they were like, all right, we're done with karate.
Mm-hmm.
So they pulled me out of that, and big martial arts fan, man. Bloodsport and Steven Seagal, like.
Yeah, so Van Damme, Seagal.
Yeah, it was always like a constant in my life, man. Wanted to be a fucking ninja when I was a kid,
Sure.
Had the whole suit, the whole deal, So, yeah, it was always something. And, I don't know, man, I was at a pretty shitty place in my early 20s, like around 24, 23, somewhere around there. And, just fucking smoking and drinking all the time, and just like 200 pounds all fat, just eating McDonald's every day. It wasn't a good spot, and decided to do something about it. And I knew I didn't want to fucking take a pill, so I was like, oh, let me just go try some jiu-jitsu, man. I kind of heard about it, and so I tried it, and the rest is history, man. I stopped smoking, stopped drinking every day, and
Just got in better shape too, right? I mean, the shape that you get with that, it's crazy because I've always lifted. I've lifted my whole life, and I wrestled back in high school. But the thing with high school sports is they're not all year round. You get 3-4 months and then you're off the rest of the year. And jiu-jitsu's all year round, so just the conditioning you get from training that all year round is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I miss that too. Like, playing soccer my whole life and doing sports my whole life. There was just that outlet that was lacking,
Yeah, because you're out of school for a few years, and now what? And you want to be a part of a team, but you don't want to do karate. Now that you're an adult, you kind of know, the deal about karate, and there's a lot of McDojos around that kind of aren't really worried about technique and this and that. They're just trying to take, how much money you got? Okay, we'll get you a black belt in 6 months or something, And with jiu-jitsu, what I like about it is you can actually compete without having to worry about, getting a serious injury too, as long as you're on the ball about tapping.
Yeah, it's I've been doing this for 10 years, man, and I never really, little things, but not anything serious that required surgery.
Yeah, and a lot of it's probably self-inflicted, right? I mean,
yeah.
Like I was being hard-headed, or right?
Yeah.
For sure. So, have you done any competing jiu-jitsu wise or tournaments or?
Yeah. So a couple. When I first started out, I did, a couple Naga,
Yep.
And I did a couple bigger ones, as well. I did, the Abu Dhabi trials in Orlando like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I also did the Miami Open, which was this year.
The IBJJF?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I also went to Abu Dhabi and competed in Abu Dhabi. And that was, I think, last December. I went to Egypt. I told you I took some time off to travel before I went back to school. I took like a couple-week trip and went to Egypt and competed in Abu Dhabi, and then saw some friends in D.C.
Wow. That was fun.
Yeah.
See where jiu-jitsu took you? That's crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of like a bucket list shit.
Yeah. Check that one off. Now, going all around these big tournaments, have you met any of like the bigger names too, or been around any of them? Or?
So I guess everybody has their own, jiu-jitsu story. Some people, been at the same place their entire time. Some people have moved around based on work and life and all that. And my story is no different, but I also kind of always had this thing where I felt that if I was the best one in the room, then I was in the wrong room.
Mm-hmm.
And I also kind of wanted to compete from a young time when I first started. So I always kind of had that drive. And so because of that, I moved around a lot, and went to some like high level competitive gyms.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, and the only bummer about that is if you're trying to progress, belt wise, it's like you start over every time you go somewhere new. You're starting fresh because they don't care if you've had the same belt for 5 years. Like you're fresh to me. You got to spend X amount of time with me before I even think about a promotion. So it's the only bummer.
Yeah, and times 20 when you go to a competitive school.
Yeah,
because you base on your success. So it's not only that you're just starting over, they're also looking at, okay, how well are you doing against the best guys in the world that are also in this room,
that do this for a living, like you've got a job. This is their job.
But it took me a long time to figure that out, man. Like, when you want something, you just fucking want it.
That's
what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't really understand that there was a difference between me being like a professional and having a life, and why was I not as good as these guys that were in 22 winning worlds in their division,
Yeah.
So, but because of that mindset, I can go after it in the gym. That's just.
Yep. Just give it 110% every day. Yeah. And that's probably injuries too.
So, yeah. So I got to train with Bruno Malfacini. He has a school here in Orlando, and he's an 8-time world champion, like IBJJF Hall of Fame. So, and there's a lot of great guys there. I knew the guy that actually opened up the gym. I used to train with him when I first started at Gracie Baja. His name is Brad Thompson. He's a good dude. And I guess from there I floated around. I trained at my buddy Fabine's gym. At that time, they didn't have a lot of people, so I was kind of going back and forth between Alliance and there. Also, during that time, I trained with John Michael and Kenny.
Oh, yeah.
Up here in Daytona. Also trained with Phil Cardella up in St. Augustine, who's like, I think he was one of Helson Gracie's first like American black belts.
Yeah.
He competed in like the WEC. He's a bad motherfucker, man. And then I also, when I moved down like 2 years ago, I was living up here for a while, and I moved down to Fort Lauderdale. Just kind of wanted a change of pace. It was just time. So I grew up down there, and I ended up going to train at GFT down there. At the time, it was just called AJ Souza's. AJ Souza is a high-level competitive black belt who took over the school from Pablo Popovich. I don't know if you know.
I've heard of that name. Yeah.
Yeah, high-level jiu-jitsu, man. And it was a fucking awesome place, man. I got to train with some really cool people. Like the first week I was there, I'm like watching all these fucking awesome dudes come in the room, like Claudio Calasanz and Mikey Musumeci. And these are guys who, like Mikey Musumeci won worlds, and like these are the guys that are at the top of their fucking game. So it was really cool, man, to be around that. And a lot of guys that train there are world champions, Pan Am champions. Got to train with AJ, who's fucking amazing. And Victor Silverio, who's also another like high level competitive athlete. He's competing in Pans right now. Actually, that's going on right now.
Wow.
And AJ just competed in ACB, which was in Spain. Like, these are like dudes at the top of the heap, and it was just cool to be in that room, man, and to see like, where I stood.
Sure. What's the intensity like there? Just crazy?
Yeah, fucking crazy, man. Like, Yeah, like, you know, it was very like high level competitive gym. Like, you know, everybody was focused on points, and it was a strategy every time you rolled. Like, everybody there took it pretty seriously, you know.
So not so much of the self-defense side, more of the tournament, right? I mean,
completely tournament style. But you get sharp, man. You know, you get sharp, and you know, I feel like my game got a lot tighter from being there, and just being around AJ, man. He's I've never been around somebody that broke down techniques the way he did.
yeah.
No, just a really smart guy that just could see things a little differently, and just really helpful, man. He's a solid dude, and I've seen him go against some just world class dudes and just wreck them, you know.
I mean, in a gym like that, there's no room for error because everybody's at that level, right? Your game has to be perfect, or you're gonna get tossed around.
And I did.
Yeah.
There were guys that I went with, like, they had this little kid there, who was a like world champion, Pan Am champion at purple belt.
Whew.
And he would just make me look like nothing, man. Like, I tried to throw up a guard, just whoop, like, next thing you know, I'm getting choked, and it was like, damn it.
Yeah.
You know,
Was he like 50 pounds lighter than you two or something?
he was, yeah, at least. You know, there's levels to this shit, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. You go into a gym like that and you think like you're doing okay at you know, your regular gym, and you go to one of these and you're just like, "Oh, I got some catching up to do."
Like, oh, I'm here and this is there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
yeah, this is the beginning of the next level. Right? Oh man. So I mean, so now that you're you know, you're in the obviously working in nursing too, so you have a very good understanding of anatomy. Do you think that gives you any sort of an edge as far as training or rolling?
I don't know, man. I think I take the time to rest when my body needs resting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I understand and because I kind of realize the importance of recovery.
Yes.
You know, I know that when something's hurting me, you know, I don't just decide to go back to the gym the next day.
Yeah, go power through, right?
Yeah. I started getting into like complementary shit to help with jiu-jitsu years ago, when I like maybe 2 or 3 years into jiu-jitsu. I had like a torn cartilage on my rib and just banged up. And this chick I know was like, "Hey, why don't you fucking come to yoga with me?" I was like, it seems a little pussy-ish.
Yeah, cool. But, yeah, I'll bring my purse.
Yeah. All right, so I go to this hot yoga class and just get worked.
Yeah, I've heard it's hard.
Dude, super hard. But I came out feeling great, man. So I'll do that. Like, I'll do yoga when I'm fucking banged up and just need a break from jiu-jitsu, and helps a lot with balance. That's where I've seen like a lot of improvement. Like, flexibility, obviously, but like it helps me kind of stay loose, but balance, man. And it like strengthens you in a different way. You know, and then I also, like, the past couple of years I started getting into I wouldn't say powerlifting, but lifting. Mm-hmm. And now I'm starting to get into powerlifting, like, recently. But yeah, I think you need all that, man.
Yeah, if you're trying to get to that level, right?
Not even the level, man. Just to stay healthy. Like, it's important to be strong. Mm-hmm. You're going to see the difference in the gym, and it's also going to help prevent injuries.
Yeah, that's true. And like you said, you need to be mobile too. You know, you need to be able to move, like yoga or any mobility drill or whatever, right? I mean, that's going to help prevent injury. You know, obviously, if you can move a certain way, you know, through a full range of motion without getting hurt, that's probably better than being stiff.
For sure, man. You got to go with stuff, you know. You know, a lot of times people, you know, they'll pass and they're like, I'm going to fucking hold on to this. And then a guy might try for a sweep or a counter. And a lot of times people get injured that way, man, because they're trying to hold on to something as opposed to going with it.
Yeah.
You know, changing position and feel how the person's moving and then react to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Change direction, right?
Yeah.
It ain't, you're not bulldogging through them all the time, man. I mean, none of us are that strong. Well, I mean, there are probably a handful of guys. Yeah, I was going to say, Kenny kind of keeps going, no matter what. It's like, all right, I'm just going to let you do whatever you want to do to me now because I can't move. But yeah, for the most part, the general public is usually not strong enough to do that to everyone. So what?
And and I'm in this for life, so I'm trying to stay as healthy as I can.
Yep.
That's all it's about.
If I get caught now or something, that's fine. I'll try it again tomorrow and the next day. I'm not going to sit here and fight it and hurt myself and not be able to come back for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. So
how do you juggle, man, training, lifting with work, school, everything else? I mean, is it just coffee is the answer?
Coffee. Yeah, it's coffee and just I don't know, man. Try to stay organized. Like I got a big fucking calendar that I write what I'm doing each day.
Yeah.
In terms of school and work and all that. I mean, it's tough, man. It's tough when you're in school. When you're just working, it's not so much of a big deal. But when you're at like the graduate level, it's a lot of work, man. A lot of writing papers, a lot of just time. You got to put in the time to get the grade. So just balance, man. Like life, it's just balance. It's finding the balance in everything.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, I mean, you're going to school, you got hours and hours of homework, but you still want to roll because as strong as you want your mind to be, you want your body to be strong too. And then you got to go to work because you still have to pay the bills. And heaven forbid you don't sleep because that's part of your health too. So I think, like you said, being organized or having like a solid game plan for the week or whatever probably helps a ton.
Yeah, it does.
And then as far as eating, I mean, do you stick to like a pretty specific nutrition plan too, or are you just kind of whatever? Or
well, I kind of I've gone back and forth with all that over the years. I think it's has a lot to do with how I'm feeling or like what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of pay attention to that. So like a couple years back, I'm really into like, I read up on a lot and I have my own opinions on a lot of different things. But one of my decisions has been to switch to like a Mediterranean structure of eating.
Yeah, that's got tons of proven benefits even. Yeah, so.
Correct. I mean, if you look at like the Mediterranean population, they have one of the lowest, if not the lowest, incidence of heart disease, cancer, stroke.
Yeah. And
a lot of it has to do with their diet, man. High in fats, but good fats. A lot of nuts, a lot of olive oil, a lot of fish, a lot of vegetables. And I think the difference when you examine our food pyramid as opposed to theirs, ours is like meat, which is like the base, whereas theirs is like vegetables.
Yes.
It's just different ways of looking at things, man. Based on culture, obviously. But so I eat more like a pescatarian, Mediterranean diet. But also once a week I'll eat chicken, or once every couple weeks I'll have a steak and a fucking beer.
Sure. And I think the big thing too for most people is just to eat real food, right? Real whole food.
Yeah, and each thing has its nutritional benefit, man. When you examine like
a piece of fruit.
I mean, this conversation is like could go on for hours, but each piece of fruit or each vegetable have their own nutrient value and then have their own enzymes associated with that.
Yeah.
And then also how you're cooking them alter that.
Yeah.
So if you're cooking them, they actually denature the protein. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. But just eating like a lot of fruits and vegetables, I think is really important. Studies have been done that show like if you eat like 5 servings a day, decreases your chance of getting cancer by like roughly like 60%.
Yeah. I mean, you could just go to the grocery store and stay out, around the outside. That's where all the good stuff usually is, like the real food, and then all the box stuff is in the middle. Just all the shit, the processed garbage. So you could just go in, hit your produce section, hit your cold section, for your fish or your chicken or whatever. Then hit, if you want eggs or egg whites or frozen fruit, you can just circle the outside. Usually that's kind of where all the good stuff is at the grocery store. I mean, for a tip for most people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important, man. And, I mean, look, everybody's going to live their life their own way, and obviously, money, all those things play a factor into how you eat, whether it's, organic or just being able to afford buying, vegetables over going to the dollar menu at McDonald's for your family, like all those things are real issues. But it's important to me, so.
Yeah, it's something I don't even think twice about splurging on it, because if I eat like shit, I'm gonna feel like shit. I'm not gonna be able to go to work or do these things and make money, So it's all comes full circle, and like you said, I think so many people could benefit just from, like, I've got people that ask when I'm training people, or Jackie, same thing, both of us, like, what can I do about my diet? And then they already know the answer. A lot of people know, and you can just tell them.
Don't do it, man.
No.
Like, I worked at GNC for 5 years when I was younger, when I was working on my undergrad. And, you would just have these fucking stupid conversations with people, man. I once had this chick that came in. She was like, I want to lose weight, but I hate sweating and I don't want to work out or eat healthy.
Yeah.
Is there a pill I can take?
What supplement, right, can I take?
What the fuck are you talking about? No, there's not one pill you can take.
No.
Like, it's a combination, man. You got to put in the work, and you got to put good shit in your body, man.
Yeah, it's a whole lifestyle approach, man, and that's what drives me crazy. And another thing is, it takes time. People are really impatient nowadays, and if you drop 30 pounds in 30 days, chances are you're going to gain 35 pounds, 2 months later or something, because that quick drop usually equates to a quick rise, when you stop that crazy diet.
I think a lot of it has to do with our culture here in America.
Mm-hmm.
I think, people are really fucking stupid when it comes to health.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I see these people that would rather get a gastric bypass than eat healthy and work out.
Yeah, yeah.
Drives me nuts, man. You would rather get surgery and cut out a portion of your fucking stomach.
Yeah.
Because you want to fucking eat healthy and you want to eat pizza and fucking ice cream.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't get it, man.
It's fucking crazy, man. And it's a system that's, based on capitalism, man. At the end of the day, it's about money. Mm-hmm. And, for these people that don't know any better and don't want to take the hard route and actually, how many doctors do you go to that sit there and talk about the importance of changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, talking about preventative medicine? Like, in medicine, it's a very hugely underutilized aspect of medicine.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier to prescribe a pill. And the reality is based on like reimbursement, doctors are really only get paid for a certain amount of time to be in a room with a patient.
Mm-hmm. Anything extra is right.
Yeah. So they're losing money by sitting down and talking to a patient for a prolonged period of time. So you're not going to have people talk about preventative medicine and talk about health and diet and exercise and all the things that are long-term beneficial.
Yeah. Preventative too, instead of after the fact.
Exactly. Instead of reactive. And that's what medicine is really based around, is being reactive to whatever problem arises or putting people on unnecessary medication that they don't need to be on.
Yeah, and there's so many people that can change everything just by cleaning up their diet, just by changing what they put in and walking even, or moving around. And I'm huge on it. Yeah. And I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but I know these things. You see them, you see it firsthand. It's like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Why doesn't everybody do this, right? But
it's just it's just the culture and lack of knowledge and you know?
Yeah.
I wish something would change in the system, but I don't think it's going to.
Yeah.
I think it's only worse.
Yeah, and it's sad because there's so much good information out there now. I mean, there's still a lot of junk, but there's a lot of the internet's got good and bad, but there's good information if you look hard enough. You can kind of get an idea of what to eat just by looking online, you know. But people don't want to put in that kind of effort. They just want to say, "Here, I have insurance. Give me a pill. I want to feel better," like that chick at GNC, you know.
Yeah.
What can
I feel like there is definitely a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like past couple of years, you can tell that like with Whole Foods and all these other things, there's definitely people trying to be more conscious about their health, and you even see a lot of companies trying to market, no sugar,
gluten-free,
gluten-free bullshit, no GMOs. Like there's definitely like a shift in consciousness, but whether it affects a big picture or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the woke movement, right? We're all awake now, but I mean, do you really know? I mean, just because a sticker says non-GMO still doesn't mean it's good for you, It's
yeah. Man.
So anyways, we could switch it up, man, because that is something we could probably talk about all day, because I get frustrated with it too, dude.
I could imagine being a personal trainer. Man, it's something like I definitely think is pretty fucked up, but what are you gonna do?
People are like self-sabotaging too. I mean, if you really think about it, they're doing it to themselves, and you can tell them, "Hey, don't do that," and they're still gonna do it, and they're just gonna be like, "Well, I'll just work it off." You can't outwork a bad diet. It's you know what I mean. If your diet's total garbage,
and what people don't understand is it's not about not having the things that you want, man. Mm-hmm. Like it's just about realizing that everything comes in moderation.
Mm-hmm. And there are certain things your body needs. You're depriving your body of a lot of important vitamins, minerals, and things. It's gonna react to that. Right?
Yeah, man. And I mean, people can still eat their fucking pizza once every 2 weeks or whatever it is. It's just about being healthy, and once in a while you enjoy those things.
Yeah,
not every day.
There's actually like shown benefits to doing that too, to actually, having your low calorie, for a couple weeks and then having a high calorie day just to keep your body from getting too adapted to no calories, So there's benefits to all that. So it's like,
well, I think too the system at looking at caloric intake is a little wrong. I think it should be focused on like the nutrient value of foods.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to because the reality is calories are just something that are utilized as like an energy source.
Yeah, it's a unit of energy, right?
Yeah, and the focus shouldn't really be on weight management. I mean, it should, but it should be more focused on the nutrients that you're intaking, and the health benefits associated with those, as opposed to like this zero carb bullshit. And it's just about understanding the different kinds of carbs and understanding the way that you need to do things. And I feel like there's benefits to, everything has its benefit, like the keto diet is real popular right now, but there's kind of, I don't know, I'm not 100% on that.
No.
I don't really think that's for like an average person, maybe like a high level athlete or something that may be really good. But I mean, you have to stay on top of it.
And even at that level, carbohydrates are great for energy too, though, so like you're missing out on carbohydrates.
Exactly. And the body needs all that shit, man.
Yeah, you need balance.
The body needs all that shit.
Yeah.
And it's just what it all boils down to is your body's a fucking machine, and all you're doing in switching like between like a keto diet or like utilizing carbohydrates, it really just has to do with energy utilization, right? And ATP. So, the whole premise with the keto diet is that, the fats are typically in like the circle of ATP production, fats get burned first. So the whole thing is if you eat like this high fat diet, it's going to get burn first.
You're gonna burn fat first.
And that's kind of what it is, man. Like if you were lost in the fucking Grand Canyon for a couple of days, like your body's gonna eat away at the fat before it does the protein in the muscle.
Sure.
You know, first be like the glycogen storage, but then it will go to the fat. You know, so it's all just about energy production. You know, but I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, man.
Yeah, and I've been, like you said, I've been through it. You know, and I don't know if I could ever go keto. I mean, I like carbs, and for me, I can't. I have a hard time performing on limited carbs. You know, like to my maximum, like rolling or lifting. I don't feel as strong without carbs. So, but I mean, some people like it. I guess Kenny likes it, so he's digging the keto, but.
Listen, man, everybody's got to live their own life, you know, and do their own thing and do what makes them feel good. Because at the end of the day, what works for somebody else may not work for you.
Yeah. That's the thing. We're all different. So I'm glad I can eat carbs. Right.
Coffee.
Yeah. So I'll switch it up here, man. I'm just curious on, and I don't know if you don't know this offhand, it's okay, but what would be the best piece of advice you've ever received? And that could be to do with martial arts or school or anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu related.
I had this conversation with this old Italian guy once in like my early 20s that completely changed everything for me. He said, we were talking about life and all different kinds of shit. And this was the first time I met this guy, and we were just talking, and we were talking about his life, and he said, you know, in the first half of life, all you do is look forward. And in the second half of life, all you do is look backwards. And it made me realize that when I look backwards, I wanted to be content with the things that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed everything for me, man. It made me, start fucking traveling the world and trying to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish, and, it changed my life. It's weird how one conversation could do that, you know.
With a stranger, too, right?
Stranger. Complete fucking stranger.
Yeah, I bet it just made you want to stop wasting time, too, doing anything that didn't help, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I like that. That's a good one too. I mean, and that go for anyone. Raising your kids, you know, if when you have kids, all that. But make sure you lay the right path, right? Otherwise, you're gonna look back and kick yourself, and at that point, there's nothing you can do about it. You know.
Listen, man, time is more valuable than money.
Yeah, by far, dude. And people that don't understand that aren't old enough yet, or haven't spent enough time here yet, because. You know, there's a certain number, obviously, that you have to put on your time in order to go work for someone for 8 or 10 hours, or go do this or do that, and you know, it's hard to quantify that sometimes, right? You know, to say, hey, I need this much money if I'm going to spend 50 hours a week with you or something, because I'm missing out on 50 hours that I could be hanging with friends or family or jiu-jitsu or whatever, right? I mean,
life's a balance, man.
Yep.
It's not about, you know. And that's something you figure out when you get older, man. As you just said, you know, it's figuring out that, okay, maybe I shouldn't, you know, work these extra hours. I know I get more money, but I'm missing out on these other things that I enjoy doing, or spending time with my family. And, you know, all that shit matters, man. It's about finding the balance in your life. And it's when people are the most happy.
Yeah, that's a huge sacrifice, huge trade-off, man. Working overtime and all that. I mean, I could have got it maybe when I was younger, because somehow you can live on less sleep. But now, man, I'll turn down all the overtime. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
What's your relationship with Kenny, anyways? I mean, since he's the one who kind of told me to get a hold of you, how'd you guys meet?
Yeah, so me and Kenny met like 7 or 8 years ago. He was training at John Michael's, which Kenny talked about. John Michael is, I think, a 2nd degree black belt under Helson Gracie. Lived with Helson Gracie. Just a fucking awesome dude. You know, I love that motherfucker. And when I was in college, working on my undergrad, I was Actually, sorry, I started nursing school, so I was living up in Daytona at the time here. And, Fabine's my gym where I train now. It was like an hour away in Orlando. So it was a lot harder for me, especially being a fucking starving student and shit. And I didn't have a lot of money. And I would train with John Michael. And that's how me and Kenny met. And obviously, we hung out for a little while. Kenny moved to California, as you know, he talked about, and then came back. And it wasn't really till he came back, or I moved back up in this September, and just reconnected and fucking started chilling, lifting and training. And
yeah,
he's a good dude.
Yeah, definitely. He'd be probably one of the best friends someone could find, I mean, he'll help you no matter what situation, and he'd be there no matter what. So
yeah, he's a fucking great dude, man. And he's lived a fucking
crazy life.
Crazy fucking life, man. It's weird how like having conversations with somebody like a friend can help put your life into perspective,
Yeah.
And help reevaluate your shit. And when you realize like, oh, that motherfucker, like I thought I had it hard.
Yeah.
That motherfucker had it hard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what the fuck do I have to complain about? Man?
Yeah. I sound like a little baby right now. I better quit, right?
A little bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely been through some things, man, and that sort of stuff can make or break someone too. And feels like for him, it strengthened him. I think it made him better, but it could go either way.
Sure.
Do you have any certain goals or resolutions you set for yourself for 2018?
Yeah, 2018 was just to get back in school, man. I have a plan, for my life, but 2018 specifically was just to get back in school, establish myself where I'm at, and just try to fucking find balance, man. Find balance in my life and focus on the things that I enjoy doing as well, like jiu-jitsu or like all this other,
That's funny. That's so many people. You have no idea how many people say they're just trying to find balance. It's so hard.
Dude, it is. It is, man. It's hard not to work overtime when there's fucking somebody throwing money at you.
Yeah. We'll double it. We'll double whatever.
At the end of the day, man, it's about finding balance and enjoying your time, man. Mm-hmm. So I try not to see myself as like this one person, like this fucking dude that works in an emergency room or this guy that does jiu-jitsu. I try to, like, those are all aspects of me, and I try find balance in all of them, man, because I feel like if I go do jiu-jitsu too much, I get a little burnout, or if I go fucking work overtime and work all the time, I get a little burnout. If I don't take time away from school, I'll get a little burnout. So for me, it's about finding the balance in my life,
Yeah, I'm Jared Levine. I'm not jiu-jitsu Jared or emergency room Jared, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're all individuals, man, and we're not these one things, and so these are all things that make me, man. All things that I fucking love doing. I love working in an ER. Crazy time.
I was gonna say, I'm sure it's very adrenaline rush there, and I'm sure, right?
Yeah, but these are all aspects of me, man.
Right.
And I love all of them, man, equally.
Yeah. So what's the end game, man? What's the end goal for you?
In terms of life or jiu-jitsu or
all of it? Yeah, life, jiu-jitsu, work, retirement.
I want to set myself up in terms of retirement. Be comfortable. In terms of jiu-jitsu, I want to get my black belt. Yep. I have a goal in my mind by like 45. Mm-hmm. I'm in no rush. I'm 34 now. Figure it's a good time frame. I want to be doing this forever. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's a fucking 45 or 60.
Yep.
I'm getting rolling until I can't. So, I might do a competition here or there, but it's not my focus, man. I got nothing left to prove anymore. And, it took me a long time to figure that out, of just realizing that I'm not a fucking 22-year-old kid who does jiu-jitsu full time. I'm a professional and I have a life and all these things. So, it's about finding the balance in that too.
That's hard because it's so it really gets your ego in check. When you're like, you gotta,
yeah.
Especially when
it's
when a 22-year-old beats you.
Yeah, and it's exciting when you're like, I'm really into like competitive jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Well, like I follow all that shit, and I've watched friends fucking go and compete at the highest level, and then you kind of want to, I don't know, you want to experience that, man. It's enticing, and it makes you fucking feel great to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you feel alive, and I love that feeling, man. I do. But it's about balance, man. And at the end of the day, man, as long as I could just keep doing what I love doing, it doesn't matter. I'm never gonna fucking be a world champion. I have no goals. I don't care to. Like, I'm okay with that, In terms of life, just want to live a good life, man. Want to get my master's, and from there I'll go get my doctorate. My goal is to teach. So I want to teach critical care, while also kind of working in the ER as well.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. And then I imagine the end goal. Are you staying in Florida? I mean, even retirement, plan on being right there, or?
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually where people go when they retire anyway. So you're already there, right?
I love it here, man. I'm a Florida boy my whole life, and it ain't changing. So
nice. Yeah. So that's cool, man. That pretty much wraps it up for the question. If you had anything you wanted to cover or any shout outs you wanted to give or anyone you want to say hey to, you can do that, or share any social media info if anybody wants to follow you or look you up on any of that. Or
I am not on social media really, so
nice. Hey,
yeah, I have a Facebook, but I don't really go on there much.
That's cool, dude. Want to thank everybody for listening, and if you haven't, make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave us a rating and review. And we're obviously on Instagram at FitFarm Podcast. So thanks everybody for listening.